All right. Well, welcome everybody to our meetup for today. Really excited about the topic. We're going to be talking about email spam, which every single person with an inbox knows exactly what that is. I can go to someone in Ghana, or I can go to someone in Canada. It doesn't matter. As long as you have an inbox, you know exactly what spam is. We're going to unpack a lot of content for you today to show you, start from the beginning, what is spam, some global numbers, and the main reasons why emails go to spam. We're also going to be providing some solutions in terms of what you can do about it to improve. And there's a reason why we are, I would say, qualified to talk about this topic. And you'll know why in a minute if you have joined us for the first time. We do have quite a few people on the meeting, and we're probably going to hit about 80 in and out by the end of it. But please know that this recording is also going to be shared with our community. Our reach is quite far. It's not only the 80 people attending today. We're probably going to have, within the next 6 months, close to 8,000 eyeballs on this video. We will also send you a follow-up with the presentation, the content, and at the end of my content, if you may, I have a lot of resources my team has compiled to you, more so of tools that you can use to make your life easier and up your marketing games, email marketing game to be specific. I want to dive in a little bit into the introductions, right? I do this once a month for the past 7 years, taking maybe a couple of months here and there. But we've grown the community to a solid 20,000 active members who in rotation at those events. When I first started those meetups and monthly topics around marketing, I primarily wanted to learn. I wanted to share and pass on my knowledge. And finally, I wanted you to connect, whether it was in a physical environment or now, because we're doing these online. I would love for you guys to connect. So this is why I would kindly ask you if you may share your contact information, all up for your discretion, of course, inside the chat section. So other members maybe can get a little inspiration or, can find some resources they're looking for. And towards the end, this event might take all the way up to 6:15. I will open up the floor for some introductions if we have a little bit of time. Okay, so again, in the chat, drop us your name, your elevator pitch, your contact information, whatever it is you want to share with the community, please do so in the chat. Now, the agenda is quite simple, just a general intro. I'll dive into the topic, and then we'll do Q&As. Anytime during the event, however, I like to keep this a little bit more interactive than just a one-way event. So if you have questions, drop them in the chat. I have my colleagues, Elsa and George, who will be monitoring. Some will be monitoring the feed here. Some will be monitoring Facebook because we get a lot of questions there. And I'll try my best to answer every single one of you guys. For those of you who do not know who we are, what my company is VBout. We are a marketing stack focused on the 3 phases of the lead gen, to get the lead into the door, the lead nurture, to educate the lead about what you do, and the customer retention. So the lead keeps on, or the customer keeps on paying you again and again, and turn this into a happy experience. So all the tools you require to get this done, we provided in VBout, or at least the majority of the tools. What does that look like? I have a slide on that, but at core, we are a marketing automation stack. Our focus is to have a simple interface. If you've used us before, you understand what we mean. We also wanted to provide the platform at a great price. So you're getting exactly what you would get with HubSpot on the marketing side, or at least a lot of what they provide, but for a fraction of the price. We're not the cheapest on the market, but we're not expensive. We're right in between. One thing we pride on is our premium support. If you are using our software, we promise you to give you the attention that you need, the support, the human support to be specific. No bots, no just pre-canned questions or answers, although we sometimes send you to resources, but we really have a very solid support I can stand behind. Now, over the years, we were able to craft or become one of the top 10 marketing automation platforms on the market. And there are quite a few nowadays. It's probably about 300 products on the market. So being at the top 10 is just a great indication that we are doing something right. And those 4 pillars are really what sets us apart. Coming back to the platform, won't bore you with too much demo, but I have to do this, guys, because obviously we spend the effort and energy into producing what we have in the content. So I need to give thanks to my team for doing so. And at least you know what we do, why we're qualified, right? So VBOT has 10 plus core tools. If you would like to generate leads, we obviously have the tools to do so. So let's say landing pages, pop-ups, forms, you can build them on VBOT. Then comes in phase 2, which is the lead tracking, the automation and the nurture campaigns. You also give you those tools in VBOT. And I'm not saying very basic tools. These are advanced. In some cases, you can do scenarios you might not be able to do somewhere else. So the tools are quite advanced, 7-8 year technology, and it's not something we built overnight. So expect to have a lot of tools is what I'm trying to say. And then here we have a lot of things that could be used in retention or conversion. So these are the 3 phases of every lead, and that stands the test of time, I think, from the beginning of commerce until today. Every single person that makes a purchase has been considered a lead generated. They were aware of a product and they showed interest. Then they learned a little bit about the product, and finally they came back for more. You will notice we have a lot of integrations that we invested in, whether our native integrations, API layers, third-party integrators. So if you think how we can integrate with others, we got your back. Obviously, integration is a big part of our strategy as well. And I think every product out there, maybe you guys will agree, they need to play well with other platforms because your data is probably flowing across 2 or 3 platforms. And we do support that for you. All right. Also, I just want to do a quick mic check. Is everything clear?
Yeah, everything is perfect. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. I'm just gonna erase real quick here. I always lose the eraser tool. Here we go. All right. What does VBOT look like exactly? This is one of our flagship tools that we spent a lot of engineering on. I just want you to think about that follow-up cadence that you want to craft for your business. A business comes through the door, or a client comes through the door. You send them email number 1, email number 2, you notify the team. Maybe you send them an SMS message 2 days later. Perhaps assign this lead as a task so you can get reminders. Or if you simply want to do like a follow-on onboarding email sequence. Most of you here today, I believe, are very well aware what an onboarding sequence automation is to some extent, so I won't bore you with that. But what we're focused in this view is that in VBOT, we made it super easy, visual. You don't need to know coding. You just need to learn the logic. And we provide so much academy, courses, content, funnel analysis. So if you have 0 ideas today and you go through our content, I guarantee you'll get inspirations so you can build your own funnels down the road. All right. Now, at the end, what VBOT is not just a marketing platform. We want to give you control over the data. The problem with having different platforms is that these platforms sometimes don't talk to each other. And if you want to consolidate the end results on your leads or on your contacts, you probably have to use something like Segment or Google Suite to create a customer profile. We try in VBOT to get you as much as that information within the customer profile on a first-party cookie level. So you can send Facebook, you can export the data using proper segmentation based on all that interest that VBOT has gathered and bring down the cost of your acquisition through paid media or other channels. So you own your first-party cookie data. Your customers do not belong to Facebook, do not belong to AdWords. And this is only one of our manifestos for this upcoming year. So in the grand scheme of things, to summarize, You think about all the products out there, they're all great. I love every single one of my competitors, but some of them, they are full stack branded. They leave a lot to be desired, right? They might also start at the cheaper side of things. Eventually, they get pretty expensive pretty fast. Then you have those that are a little bit of an overkill for a lot of companies, not everyone. Love HubSpot, SharpSpring is great, recently acquired by Constant Contact, but these products are not for everyone. And if you can afford them, it's probably not necessary to pay 2, 3, and even in some cases, 20, 30 grand on large volume requirements. So we are right there in the middle, guys, just to make sure I get my mission and life clear to everyone here. So that's it in terms of VBOUT. If you'd like to talk to us, I'm happy to speak to you. My team is happy to talk to you if you're looking for a product that's going to fit your future marketing need. Okay, no sales, no pushy sales tactics. We actually handhold you. We try to teach you what we do and how VBOUT is a good fit. Sometimes you can walk out and tell you VBOUT is not the right fit for you. All right, enough of all of that. What I would like to do is just outline a little bit what we're covering. We're going to be talking about what is email spam, why emails hit spam traps, and how to resolve common problems. So we're going to give you solutions. The future of email, where it's headed, and some of the trends that we spotted, as well as we are actively working on. And we're going to give you tons of resources, guys. Stick around to the end. We'll give you access to tools we've built, relevant content to you, so you can stay compliant. All right, promise you the last slide here. George is going to put in the chat the link to our VBOUT group on Facebook. We do this and we'd love for our community to grow, focused primarily on content that we learn. We analyze funnels, we push them out. Product releases, we push it out. New trends on the market, we also put it on the group. So if you haven't joined, we'll put in a link in the chat. I'd love to have you in our community, guys. Support us so we can keep pushing content like this on a monthly basis. And I promise you, we've been doing this for 7 years. We're going to still be doing this at least for the next 7 years. So join us and we'll see you on future events, of course. All right, quick break, water break here. If you just came in, guys, please leave your information in the chat. I'd love for us to kind of get to know you a little bit. And towards the end, I might open up the mic for those who can introduce themselves if time allows. Any questions you might have, my team are going to share them with me. I'll be taking periodic breaks so I can answer you directly. Okay. All the content will be shared back via email, via our group. So if you have missed any of the content, if you'd like this presentation, actually, maybe you want to repurpose it, we're going to provide it back to you as well. Okay. All right. What is email spam? Now, many of you are probably familiar with what is spam. But those of you who are really new to email, it's the fact that you're getting messages from people you did not give permission to send you emails from the first place. Now, some might argue it's only when sending messages in a high volume environment, but the email environment has changed so much that it's actually now even low volume unsolicited emails can become or is considered spam. So you have to be very, very careful there. Sorry, let me just put up my notes here on the side. Most of the time, spam activity are driven by monetary purpose. Somebody want to make money and they create an email, they buy a list, they blast everybody in hopes they click, they go to a destination, they download something, they make a purchase, they sign up, they take action. So there is a monetary purpose here, but the spam world has spiraled to become also a criminal world. You see phishing all the time. We get them on VBOUT, we block them before they even send one email. But we block so much. So since we started 7 years ago until now, that volume of email spam attempt has probably at least 8 times fold grown. And spam and phishing is not one person organization. Usually there's a lot more going on there. It could be someone who cannot get clicks. They hire someone, or they hire this underground company that has a system in place of sending millions of emails, and then they charge you per results. And they create shadow pages after shadow pages to try to get around the spam. They also create IPs that are in rotation constantly, which burner IPs. They take them, they blast, they burn, and so on. I'll get more into the details of IPs and stuff like that. But I just wanted to know that spam is not just one person on the other side sending you an email. It's actually gotten a lot more organized and a lot more sophisticated in the past few years. And in terms of the term, why they call it email spam, this I think dates back to the 1970, the Monty Python episode where they're just talking about how spam is so repetitive and unnecessary. It's annoying. People don't like it. So I put in the video here for those of you who will get the actual presentation to just watch that sketch from where the word spam actually originated. Okay. Some of you might find it funny. I didn't find it funny. I just thought that whoever chose that word from that episode has a very funny sense of humor. Awesome. Andreas loves the Monty Python. Okay, thanks, Andreas. All right, let's talk a little bit about, some numbers here. And I'm sorry, guys, it's played accidentally.
Rich, we have a question from Bruce in the chat.
Yeah, I'm all ears.
Does targeting personal versus company emails matter for spam?
I'm sorry, Elsa. I didn't hear that.
Does targeting personal versus company emails matter for spam?
There are some fine lines in terms of compliance, but if in the grand scheme of things, in the macro, when you target somebody who never requested information from you before, it's a borderline spam. If it's a business, it's definitely spam. If it's an individual. People who are, if I have a personal inbox, I just want to receive personal emails from people that I know, or maybe some vendors I'm interested in. Most likely, I'm not gonna, ask or get inspirations from random emails getting in. Now, if in a business, some might argue, I'm open to receiving emails from random other businesses, but now it's becoming even more stricter on that front. Okay. Now, the global spam volume, believe it or not, although it has increased at a large scale and it gotten more sophisticated, it actually has decreased of the global email send volume. So I believe email is projected to be around 25 billion emails per day in the next year or so. And that's based on Statista. But the volume of that, or the percentage of that, has dropped from 23%, okay, to 23% in 2021, where it was 69% of that global volume in 2012. So it is on the decline, and I think that's because of many things. One, ESPs like Gmails and Friend are getting more sophisticated in catching these before they get there. Filters are becoming more frequent. Tools to identify these things. People are getting more educated about spam and how they could avoid it. Filters, built-in tools, firewalls. But now marketers, spammers to be specific, I apologize, not marketers, are able to create different ways to generate spam and to hit people that are the most vulnerable. Okay, there are actually underground communities that they share lists of people that have been scammed before from email, and they sell those lists. So if they know Jimmy was naive enough to fall for a spam and buy, a crappy product that does not work, maybe like a product for male baldness, now that information is actually reshared in an underground community and resold to other people who are trying to benefit of Jimmy. It's a very greedy underground thing, but it became more focused and it actually has dropped in volume over time. All right, let's talk a little bit about bounce backs. And, it's why I'm talking about bounce backs, because bounce backs is one of the main signals when we send an email. So usually you use a system, you send out an email, the email gets delivered, we get an okay response. This is happening instantaneously. Let's say Gmail sends us back response, this email is good to go. I'm not saying it had spam or not, but if it did not accept that email for some reason, it could be sent back to us as a bounce back. Okay, a slightly different process than just spam. There are different types of bounces. And it's funny, my team put a balloon picture here. There are hard bounces from a permanent delivery issue. That could be the email does not exist. It could be a permanent block, or a few other reasons. There are so many codes for bounce backs. We usually in VBOUT brings you back that data on your email statistics so you can see exactly why the bounce back happened and what you can do about it in some areas. There are also some soft bounces. It could be temporary issue. Maybe the IP is blocked temporarily somewhere. Maybe the email is over capacity and it cannot receive any additional at the time. Perhaps is the content has been classified as spam. So these are temporary issues in bounces that could be resolved, obviously, and they're not equal. The hard bounce usually is serious. You should stop sending emails to those people. And there are soft bounces that you can try to reattempt delivery after a while. Now, what we've seen in the past few years, new bounces have been introduced. They are more strict. So even though it could be a temporary issue, it's been classified as a hard bounce, although it could be temporary. So for example, an IP has been blocked, it could be a temporary issue. However, the bounce back code is coming back as a hard bounce. And there's a problem with this is that sometimes it could be completely suppressed at your email marketing tool of choice where it shouldn't have been, because next week that IP could be whitelisted, right? So there is a fine line there. And this is why working with a company that's really into the codes and this type of stuff, ask questions so you know exactly what it could bounce, soft bounce, hard bounce, and so on. Any questions so far?
No, everything is clear. I'm trying to answer the questions that I know. So you're good.
All right, awesome. And I know, guys, there's a lot to cover here, from spam reason and solutions is what I'm going to talk about next. So the first reason for emails hitting spam traps, and has been the case for the majority of reports that we've gotten. One, the DNS is not set up properly. It's a very basic problem to have. And many people do not know that they need to set up a DNS record on their domain, okay? Now, if you are using Gmail, if you are using Yahoo to send out bulk emails, that's not even a question nowadays. They do not let you send out bulk emails. They cap you at a certain amount per day. And if you're trying to use that email with a third-party platform, you're gonna get blocked immediately. So don't even bother. I'm talking about a business domain to be specific. So usually the DNS records are almost like those keys telling the world that you are authorized to send email from that server, okay? I know this can get a little bit technical. That's why the guy there is just having a headache. But at VBOUT, we handhold you so you can get this set up. So there's no issue there. If you haven't set up your DNS properly, usually you're going to get some bounce backs. That means when Gmail gets an email from VBOUT on your behalf, they're going to ask questions instantly. Is VBOUT authorized to send email, on behalf of Steve? And they look at those DNS signatures to verify if this is correct or not. Okay, it happens again in a split of a second, but it's necessary for you to pass these things and to make it to the other side. Some emails are forgiven forgiving and they actually let you get to the inbox. They might deliver you to spam, but some might block you just immediately depending on the sender's policy. The first solution is to really set up your 4 main records. You just need actually 2, but we recommend doing 4. Your SPF record, sender policy framework, your DKIM signature, which is usually the most important. This is almost like a password, actually, in the terms of things. You install it. VBOT gives you that key. You put it on your domain. So when you send out email through VBOT, the recipient's Gmail is gonna say, okay, well, VBOT, the only way you are authentically sending email is if you have a password installed on DNS. So there's a little bit of a handshake going on. Again, don't worry if this is too technical. I'm just passing on the knowledge here so you know, and you can intelligently talk about these terms. Now, DMARC, it's your policy of how you'd like to receive emails from others. And BIMI is a new record, which we're including at the last slide, a walkthrough of how you can set it up for your business. It's pretty much that logo that shows up next to your inbox and is currently getting supported by more and more email clients. So obviously, if you have your logo showing next to your brand, that's something that's kind of hard to fake. And there are some levels of security. So you have to have your DKIM set up. You have to have a strict policy that's a reject or quarantine in order for the BMI to be installed. So that means it's really hard to fake your logo next to email inboxes. All right. Again, guys, this is probably going to be the most technical thing I'm going to talk about today. So don't get scared, but it's really important to share it. All right. It shows the legitimacy that you are a sender, and that's really the core of what we're talking about. Any questions on this before we go to reason number 2?
I think we're good.
Cool. Is George with us, by the way? I know I haven't promoted him to
yes, can you please make him in our pain list? He's always stuck in the attendees.
All right, here we go. George, you are a panelist right now. Okay.
Actually, Richard, we have questions. On AppSumo, they have a deal for managing DMARC. Is this adding value for us?
No, has nothing to do with us.
Yes, it works now. Thank you, Richard.
We manage our
Okay, second question. If I use webmail, can I still configure those settings?
Has nothing to do with webmail. Webmail is just your own inbox for sending legitimate one-to-one emails. If you're doing marketing or your automation emails at scale using VBOT, you have to set up these records. We give you those records and you set it up. If you're using webmail in a WHM cPanel environment, usually it's self-handled and self-certified, but you probably need to set up your DMARC policy as far as I know. All right. Cool. George, any questions on your side? I know we left you out for a bit. Anything on Facebook?
Yes, Richard. No, everything is fine on Facebook. Don't worry.
Awesome. Second reason for spam, IP of the sender is blacklisted. So if you're using VBOT and your IP pool has a blacklisted IP, it could lead you ending up in spam. And it happens with every single email provider, whether it's VBOT, whether it is MailChimp, whether it is Salesforce. IPs do get blacklisted for reasons I will talk about in a minute. But the IP could get a hit. And the question is, what is the provider doing about that? Okay. Usually an IP is blacklisted when one sender messes up on the sending side of things. Or maybe they piss off a few people and the people start marking them as spam. Sometimes people mistakenly, instead of deleting, Gmail, for instance, has a very lousy interface. They have this report spam, pardon me, and they delete right on top of each other. And oftentimes I make the mistake of spamming people instead of deleting. So this is only one of the dozens of reasons why an IP can get blacklisted. People are listing you as spam. We'll also have Others, which we'll talk about, the honeypot traps. But once your IP is blacklisted, it could lead to you ending up in spam. Sometimes the ISP used spam traps to know if the marketer is a legitimate sender. And if you are sending emails the wrong way to the wrong audience, is really what this is all summarized as. This could lead to obviously you landing in the spam. Let me unpack the spam traps a little bit for you. We have different kinds of spam traps out there. One is a pristine spam trap. This is probably the ones you should be worried about the most, because security companies, spam filters, they do have fake emails that look and feel like a legitimate email scattered around the web and places where the only way you can get access to those is through web scraping. Now, why is this relevant? When you buy a list, the person selling you that list most likely have purchased from someone else, or they created bots scattering the web and grabbing emails, parsing them into lists. And when they do that, they accidentally get a spam trap, which evidently when you email, immediately that triggers a spam alert on the other side. So that could cause your reputation to get damaged, the IP you're sending from to get damaged. So pristine spams are really scary. And they're usually planted out there by companies, security companies, on purpose. When I say security companies, guys, I'm just gonna have that the umbrella of like the spam filters, the firewalls, and so on. So I'm not using too many terms. All right, the second type of spam traps, these are actually recycled spam traps, emails that haven't been opened or active for a long time. And the person hasn't logged into their email for 5 years. Now, why are you sending this person an email? And how frequent are you sending them an email? Obviously is a direct indication that you're not a bad sender. Now, there's a difference you can see. Maybe an old email is not necessarily, doesn't mean that you're scraping the web and intentionally doing spam. Maybe this is a legitimate client that you have on your list, but the bad problem here is that if you are not properly doing vetting of your lists, segmentation, there's a problem here. And that's why they have recycled spam traps on purpose, okay? And then you have email with typos. This is generic. A lot of companies, they make mistakes either gathering emails, or some of the security companies, they drop these as well, almost similar to pristine spam traps. So when you're sending an email to someone with a typo, it ends up with a hard bounce. And if you have a lot of hard bounce, guys, it's really bad. You have to have a very small percentage of bounces, because if you have 100,000 emails and 20,000 bounces, you're going to get blacklisted immediately. So be careful with the typos, be careful with the buying lists, okay, and recycle spam traps. And I think this is where the solution comes to play. Solution number one, from an IP perspective, if you have a blacklisted IP, swap it with a clean one. Okay, it's not an easy task to do, but what you can have is, a pool of, let's say, 20, 30 IPs. In our case, in Viva, we have over 50 IPs that are ready. And every day we scan every single one. If one of them has a bad rep, we pull it out from the pool. So future campaigns are not using it. We'll put a clean one in, and that we apply for delisting, and we try to identify what the issue is and why it happened from the first place. So that IP swapping is a proactive thing that should be happening on a daily basis and possibly a few times a day. But swapping an IP to another already ready and warmed up IP is a good solution. Obviously, do not buy lists, guys. I cannot emphasize how bad buying list is. It's not about a volume game anymore. Email is about quality, quality, quality. And it's just a matter, you send out one email, you're happy, you get this high boost of open rates. The second email, you're going to see an absolute dip. And sometimes the third email might have disaster results, 1%, 2% open rates. Don't even bother. Don't waste your time and money buying lists. Just collect them organically, do events, speak to people, speak to potential clients, gather them one email at a time, because that 100 active interested people are worth a lot more than the 1,000 non-interested harvested emails from somewhere else. Okay. Any questions so far?
No, we're good.
Awesome. Reason number 3, bad sending hygiene. Okay. And a lot of people come to us, they want to be able to send a limited amount of emails and a lot of emails. And I really, it ticks me to, I don't want to see them fail. My goal at VBOUT, my team's goal, is to see every single email program coming out to have the success that the sender is expecting. Okay, but the problem is you have to understand the frequency is key. If you're sending email too frequently, it's a bad game, unless you have a specific niche market that's expecting your email every day. Frequent sending is not healthy sending. If you have a morning brew-like newsletter, amazing. You're sending an email a day, and that email could be categorized. So some people get certain content versus others. That we get. But if you are a plumber and you're sending an email a day, needless to say, this is not a problem. This is going to be a problem. If you are an affiliate marketer and you are not constantly scrubbing your lists, people not interested, there's a problem there. Another issue with bad sending hygiene is that you don't think about an active list. Now, the majority of emails, they might have a list of about 20%. Let's just take an average of 20. I know some of you are much more. Some of you might be in the 15, and some of you might be maybe around the 10. It's going to depend on your industry. But what are you doing with this 80% that's never engaging with you guys? Most people think that if they stop sending to that 80, they're going to miss out on a huge opportunity. And this is absolutely wrong, because Gmail and friends, they hate it. And I say hate it because I've met with engineers there. And one of their main tasks is to figure out why inactive contacts keep on getting emails from specific people not engaging. So they have departments for that. With that being said, segment your list, those who opened, those who didn't. If you don't want to be too strict and simply kind of sunset the inactive contacts, send them less frequently. And I think I'm skipping to the solution slide here, so please bear with me. Number 3 is sending email to bounce email addresses. If emails have bounced, you probably should stop sending them and suppress them. In VBOUT, we have a fully automated tool for list hygiene. So anyone who unsubscribes, they don't get an email from us. Anyone who marks us as spam or marks the sender as spam, we suppress them. Anyone that bounces, hard bounce, we suppress. And anyone that's soft bounce, remember the soft bounce? It's a temporary issue. We give them five tries over 5 different campaigns, not the same campaign. So these statuses are all managed in VBOUT. You don't have to lift a finger. And any program of choice, ask them how they manage all these 3 bounces, because they're not created equal. Okay.
Rich, sorry, we have a question.
Sure.
How do you define frequently? Sending emails too frequently.
Great question. When do you need to send the email is if you don't need to send an email more than once a day or once a week, don't. And I think this is a business by business cases, right? And put yourself on the other side. I know people who digest VBOUT's content, and we do put a lot of effort in producing not just a very basic article. We create courses, we create case studies, we create large resources, and people like to consume on average about 2 to 3 solid articles per month during their interest phase. If I keep on sending people 2 or 3 emails per week, sorry, I meant per week, with all that content, that's too frequently. So you have to identify the phases of your lead. Usually in the initial phases is a little bit more frequent, but eventually you should send them less frequently and turn it more into like a theme, a monthly newsletter, weekly newsletter, or something like this. Again, unless you are in an industry where you have to send daily, it's a digest, it's an update, not mentioning transactional. then I think frequently is going to depend on the phase of your lead or your contacts. Okay. And second, how often you need to send them without getting too annoying. I don't have an exact answer, but that's kind of you have to put your thoughts into it. And I think Carlos actually answered this. Thank you, Carlos. That's spot on.
Yes.
Frequently is a global word that depends on your audience and how you communicate with them.
Yeah, I have another question. What is your experience with emailing to LinkedIn contacts?
You know what? I talked about the spam traps. Now LinkedIn, security companies are actually faking LinkedIn profiles for that main reason, is that people are doing scraping over LinkedIn profiles. So they create, the John Doe perfect profile working with a company with a specific background. And they even have a picture from some stock photo somewhere. And they just wait for somebody to scrape that LinkedIn email and end up in a spam trap, pristine spam trap, which is the highest form if you just joined us. So if you want to do one-on-one, it's fine, guys. I know I'm not here to kill your email game. It does still work in some cases when you email people through LinkedIn, but there are other ways. I think you should be combining your efforts between email, LinkedIn outreach, and other social media. You should be keeping your targeting very small, because if you have, a complaint here and there on a 200 people list, that's fine. 2 or 3 complaints, it can pass through. 5 bounces, it's not a big problem. But when you start getting those thousands and thousands of emails from LinkedIn, trust me, you're going to have an issue. Okay. Email is a conversation. Did I ask you to contact me because you're just a connection on LinkedIn? There's a LinkedIn messaging for that. If it's, again, my advice, if it's a very small, tight niche, maybe you have 50 people you're trying to reach, fine, one-to-one conversation. But doing mass email campaigns by scraping every single one of your thousands of contacts, in my opinion, it's a no. All right. And Jackie said that too much information loses people. Jackie, absolutely right. If I'm sending you more than 3 emails per week with tons of resources, who has the time to consume this? So don't be self-centric and think people are like us, thinking about our product on a daily basis. They probably are just going to use the product to get from point A to point B, and you're not their top priority at any given time. So thank you, Jackie. You also can create a segment your list. I started with this before, jumped my slides. So segment your list. You can easily use VBout or similar tools to create a segment of people who opened or did not open ever. And this could apply to the email and to the automation campaigns. So if they never opened, send them once a month instead of once a week. And I'm randomly choosing frequency here. Send them once a quarter instead of once a month. So send them less frequently to try to reactivate them, but do not send every campaign to the same exact number of lists. Add all hard bosses to a suppression list. I know I've said this before, VBout takes care of that in the background. But if you're doing things manually, you're using tools that do not provide that, I think you should be doing this manually yourself, exporting, importing, that type of stuff, okay? Create a sunset policy. I think this is very healthy, and George and team has put together some amazing ideas for this. So what a sunset policy is, what are you doing with those that are not engaging? Not only segmenting them, but maybe sending them an email, hey, I haven't seen you engage with us. I've included a link. If you're really interested, I would like you to click on that link so I can keep sending you emails in the future. And you can do a cadence of like 4 reminders over a month time to just ensure that the person didn't miss the first couple, okay? So a sunset policy is literally, it means what it is that you are turning your email contacts into dormant friends. Questions so far?
No, we're good. We're good.
All good, Richard.
Cool. I'm gonna put some lights on here. It's getting dark.
Yeah.
1 second, sorry. Cool.
Monica is asking, how can I get this to send to my client?
Get what? I'm sorry. The slides?
Yeah, Monica, can you please give us more information? Also, Philip, the presentation.
We will be sharing it, Monica. After the event, George will compile a list of all our attendees, and we will send it. We will also put it in a group. George, please put the link to our Facebook group. So whoever didn't join yet, they could join our community and they could get all this awesome presentations that we give you permissions to co-brand and re-share with your customers along with the video too, okay?
Sure.
Another question from Philip. Would a 30% open rate?
Yes, it is good sign.
Good sign, yeah.
Most companies average about 17%. Now, depending on industries, okay, I don't want to generalize, but I'm going to take 17 because I've seen this as a sweet spot for a lot of companies. Some I've seen up to 60, 70% because they're targeting smaller lists, and these are healthy numbers. I think 30% is good, but try to focus on the 30 and the 70, re-engage them less frequently than the others. Pardon me. All right. All right, continuing here. Another reason why you can get blacklisted are these tracking URLs are blacklisted. That means I don't know if you guys are familiar with the emails tracking, but when you send out an email, there's actually in a small image that's hidden. It's like 1 by 1 pixel. The moment somebody opens an email, it shows the clock's in and open, but also every link you put in is masked by the product you're using, like Vivout, with a tracking link. In some cases, that tracking link can get blacklisted due to spam reasons, due to sometimes false negatives, false positives, I'm sorry, where spam traps confuse the content or the sender with a legitimate one. It could be somebody who tried to send out spam or even send people to clickbanks. A lot of things take place for that URL tracking to get blacklisted, but it does happen. And that could lead emails to also land in the spam. Some cases even have that red warning on the top. So you have to be careful. Some people use third-party shorteners. They have bad rep, bit.ly, 10URL, and a few others. We've seen a pattern where sometimes it's a legitimate end destination, and those are triggering the alerts or the spam filters. Unfortunately, bit.ly is a great product, but it has been used a lot by the underground world for that exact reason. Whether they've gotten better or not sure, but their bad rep follows them on that side. So sometimes the end destination that you're sending people from to, right? Maybe your website has a backdoor, a security breach, or maybe people on your network. I've seen this often, guys, where your website is hosted somewhere, it's shared environment, and your neighbor who is on the same cluster or same shared VPS is a spammer. They have a backdoor, they have a security breach. So you might go back and you can find no issues on your sites, the code is clean, but your neighbor is not. I think that's a conversation worth having with your hosting provider if you are in a shared environment. Okay, because if the link is leading to a page and that page has been blacklisted by NOR and antivirus and some of these web scanning tools, you can also take a hit. So to summarize here, not only the URL that you're using in the email, but the end destination that you're sending the email link to could also be blacklisted. Possible solution. Ask if the email platform can white label your tracking links. Not the ideal solution because usually that triggers multiple redirects, but possibly the structure of the link inside the email could be white labeled, I'm sorry, and you can use your own instead of vbt.track. whatever, right? There is some setup involved to do this on our side. Not all products provide this, but it's good to ask the question for email service provider. Not ideal. You can also turn off link tracking if you're having a severe problem with your domain and a destination until you figure out the problem. Okay. Not ideal. I don't advise it because you can lose the click tracks. But if somebody's trying to deliver email fast and they have that problem, maybe that's an option if it's available. Okay. And finally, if you have your website blacklisted, you might want to investigate by delisting your domain yourself, and there are ways to do it. Or you can reach out to your hosting provider to ask them to help you get that done. All right.
Rich, we have some questions.
Mhm.
Is there a good way to have Gmail put mail into the inbox instead of other folders?
If you follow everything we're covering here, never guaranteed, guys. If anybody speaks to you and they say, I guarantee I'm going to land in someone's inbox, I think you should give them a rain check or just walk away. There's no guarantee. I've worked with companies, underground companies, just to see or how they do it. We've had talks, we had conversation. Anybody who promised you that, they're doing a couple of things. They are doing IP burns. So they put an 5, 6 IPs, they send the bulk of emails. Gmail haven't learned enough signals, and they do hit inboxes because Gmail is learning. But then the second email and the third email is a complete burnout. So you don't want to do this. You have to be very careful because that ends up blacklisting your domain, and it could be sometimes very hard to whitelist it. Getting into promotions tab is another thing. Not everybody has promotions tab. I turned off mine. Not everyone has Gmail. Some people have other email service providers. And some have filters by default. I have tons of filters on my inbox. If I see unsubscribe on the bottom, I put them in a folder that I see once a day. I don't want to get cluttered because I'm very busy. Billing, I put them in their own folder. Internal task management and others. So you can create filters and stuff that nobody else can control. So in a sense, no, there's no guaranteed, but if you follow everything we're covering here today and you're really being proactive about it, you will see consistent good results with your email campaigns, unless there's something fundamentally wrong with your email list. Okay. Now, Monica's asking, what do I mean by delisted domain? Delisting a domain means whatever is the spam filter that has marked you as a blacklist on their blacklist, they give you a way to delist that domain, right? I want to see if I can provide some sort of an example here. Please bear with me. And I think we've shared those tools. All right. I'm pulling a browser. I think this is going to be relevant. So there are hundreds of spam filters. I'm gonna try to take, I don't have a blacklist right now, but I'm just gonna take a quick example. This tool is great, MX Toolbox, it's free. I think many of you know it already, but here they will actually scan your IP or domain and they will give you feedback if something is wrong. So you see right here, everything is okay. There are no issues. If there was one that was blacklisted, you might see right here options for you to delist it, or you can simply do, I don't know, abuse.ro delist and just go through the process. Okay. I don't know if I can do mention.com. Are they blacklisted? Okay, no, they're good. If they were blacklisted somewhere, which could happen, there's usually a process to delist. We do this on VBout side, but if you have it on your domain, you probably just do a little Google search. Okay. Let me put in that link in the chat, guys. That tool is free unless you want to set up alert. It's not the most comprehensive tool, but it's probably the most comprehensive free tool you can start from. All right. Awesome.
I have here more questions. So how to clean the reputation of the domain so the emails go from the promotion tab to the inbox?
There's no guarantee emails will go from promotion to inbox. The main signals that Gmail looks for is engagement. If you go to an inbox, if you're a recipient, go checks their inbox and they open an email and engage with it. They spend a certain amount of seconds reading. Maybe they click. You might see your email hitting their inbox thereafter. Nobody knows how this works. And again, anyone who tells you or guarantees you're not going to hit this promotions tab are lying to you. Okay, because there are some tricks you can do, which is maybe removing the headers and the unsubscribe and preferences. But then what you do is you're going to end up breaking the spam compliance laws, and you're going to be liable by country, right? Depending on the country, for not including these signatures or these opt-out options on the footer. You definitely don't want to do that, just so you don't land in the inbox in the promotions tab. You're just going to have to look at the macro results of your entire campaign and stop focusing on, oh, I tested the email, I got in my promotions, everybody else is going to get in a promotion. No, wait for the email to go out. If your end result is 20% to 30% opens, that's what you look at, not an individual email campaign. Okay. Awesome.
Okay, to find out if an email tracking provider has been blacklisted or having issues with deliverability.
Yeah, you can always ask for IPs. We're very transparent in VBOUT. We have IPs, we rotate, we can provide you some of those IPs, and you can use this tool that I just shared. So you can check if our tracking links or our IPs that you're sending from are blacklisted. And if they are, ask, what are you guys doing about it? We've had these conversations before. It's very healthy. We're very transparent. We always delisting. We have domain tracking that we use or we rotate. You measure things, again, at the macro level, guys, not just one campaign or half a campaign.
Last question.
Orazio is saying, I'm sorry, go ahead, Elsa.
Yeah, will emails prevail over direct inbox messaging?
It's a completely different dynamics when you hit someone's email versus when you hit someone's social inbox. It's going to depend on your industry. Email is not going anywhere. It's just getting more organized, more tricky, more compliance. You have to navigate. I believe both are going to have equal impact on the decision or the buying process. So if you must think how your company is engaging, think about those two. Now, the problem with social, you cannot do bulk messaging on Facebook. You cannot do bulk messaging on LinkedIn, although there might be tools that are not going to live for long that provide this. So it's limiting in terms of social. You have to do a lot of manual work versus email. You can literally gather an email campaign from this event. We probably have a couple of hundred email signups. So that by itself is a starting point for us. Okay. When I say starting points, I don't want to turn you guys into, but we're building a community. We are sharing as much knowledge, and we want to be engaged with you so you learn about the brand. Maybe one day you need VBOUT. And the same thing applies to you when it comes to your followers. It's much easier for me to next time send an email to 200 people, inviting them to the next event, and then to go individually to every single social media profile. At VBOUT, though, we do a combination of, but the social always takes up a lot of time, and hats down to Elsa for doing a lot of their hard work and doing some LinkedIn invites, and George for creating that event on Facebook. And Facebook groups are really cool, guys, because if you create a Facebook event, everybody in your group will get notified as well. So you can leverage these mini tools within those in order for you to reach your customers' notification panel. Okay. Hopefully this was helpful. I will go to now reason number 5, and we got a couple more. Sensitive industries and seasonalities. You guys, this is really underlooked, but sometimes December is crazy. Comes Easter, even worse. Then you go into summer, in August month and June, July, August, we see a little bit of a dip, but then spammers, sometimes they try to leverage this. They're very smart to try to penetrate as well. So it's all about the season. Sometimes your business is seasonal, you have no option, but it is what it is. Seasonality is one, industry is another. The financial industry is very tricky. Medical, pharmaceutical, trickier. If you are, I don't know, selling refinancing, mortgage, you have to be very careful, and you have to manage your expectations. You're not going to get that 50% and 60%. So overall, your industry and the seasonality is going to have an impact on you potentially hitting spam traps because they increase naturally their filtering during those seasons. Okay. Sometimes there are social causes where actually we've seen those spikes. It could be there's an election and spammers, what do? They jump right on the opportunity and they try to raise money for donations to support certain party. It happens a lot, all fake, and so on. There's a problem, there's a flood, a tornado. You will see tons of email outreach asking for donations. Okay. So social costs sometimes, unfortunately, can cause spikes in certain industries when it comes to the filters and how you can land an inbox when you are completely legitimate. So how you can solve this problem or be proactive about it. One, you have to get creative with the time that you send. I've seen people who during December, they send early, and even this year, people started sending as early as November, although it's also a high season, but Christmas emails start to go out early. The holiday emails for Thanksgiving went out in October. So if you want to get creative with the timing, I think it's worth experimenting with. And we have some cool features in Viva. We're actually working on timing and stuff like that, predictive sending. But I think getting creative with the times and testing it is a way to go. Try to improve your subject line to stand out as much as possible. I'm not saying stuff that with emojis, but emojis do help. Personalization by including your customers' names and relevant information. Positive, upbeat, numbers. We've seen numbers for some reason, although I was skeptical. Numbers in subject lines are also getting some positive results. If you cannot put numbers, don't go ahead and make up a number, you know what I mean? But overall, I think these are signals or some improvements you can apply. If you have a unique offer, just make it compelling enough and invite conversations. You have limited access to a course that you'd like to share for the holiday. But try to be as generous as possible in your email if you are providing discounts, that is. And add reviews and UGC, user-generated content within your emails, because people, when they read it, they want to see social proof, not only on your website, but also in emails. Who's writing the email? What's the background on these people? And I think one of our strategies this year in Viva is to provide visibility on the authors and things like this in our signatures. All right. So these are first number 5. Moving on to number 6, I have a question from Sayed. If I have same email body, will it impact me and land in spam promotion? If you're sending the same email over and over to the same people, Sayed, I'm not going to say 100% guaranteed, but I would say 99%, you're probably going to have some issues. You're going to end up in spam because nobody want to see the same content over and over. Okay. You got to get creative. It's all about quality. Okay. If that's your question, hopefully I didn't misunderstand it. Now, user number 6 is more formatting based. If you have too little text and too much image, I've seen people do banners. So they create a banner, no copy whatsoever, and they send it out. Very bad, guys. Don't do this. The fact that spam filters are not quite as accurate when they are reading content through an image as they would in a copy to identify if your copy is spam or not. They're not going to sit there and guess. The fact that you send the banner is going to impact you negatively because there are no signals what this email is about. Some might argue that there are some image recognitions, and I do agree, but it's not equipped at scanning 24 billion emails per day, right? It's not at that scale yet. And if it is, it's very expensive. So from a free email user's perspective, it's not quite there. Don't put just an image. Try to have the proper ratio, and I'll get to that in a second. Don't use random fonts. You definitely want to use something that's almost universal. Boring, I know. But if you send an email to someone and they cannot support that font you've used, what ends up happening is messes up your formatting. Now, that has nothing to do with spam or not, but if you are using some, span or some divs or some markup that's really heavy to play around with these fonts, it might also cause some trigger because the email rendering is not right. Messy contact, bullet points, and stuff like that. I think this is primarily when people, what that leads to is people next time you send out an email, they're gonna just feel like, I'm not gonna open that email. My last experience was horrible. So you're gonna have a drop off in open rates, which eventually, if people are not opening and you keep on sending, it's gonna end up, as I mentioned before, giving you a hit on your rep. All right. So make sure you have a 60% to 40% text to image ratio. Okay, not just an image. And I think only text is fine, but image speaks 1,000 words, and I get it. So try to maintain that ratio. Fonts like Arial, Verdana, and Times Roman, these are staples everywhere now. If you want to use them, you can default to these. There are a few others that are also supported, but we just listed these for this purpose. There are some trigger words that could be looked at as spam. I wouldn't say it's the most accurate, but in VBOT, we have a built-in tool that does the scanning. And when it comes to swapping those keywords, if you can, that's great. If you cannot, it's also okay, but just make sure you don't have too many of them. Okay. So use built-in spam trigger checks to ensure, you have very much the knowledge into what you can swap next time you compose a campaign. Formatting is key. I mean, most of you here are well versed on this, but people love to see easy layouts, bullet points, very simple. Don't stuff your content with too much copy and paragraphs and spacing, and break it down into 5-6 columns. The best campaigns have always been the least formatted and the ones focused on one CTA at once. The more CTAs, the more complex the design, the more the drop-offs or the less the open rates we've seen across the board, in our case at least. So keep that in mind. Number 7, no clear from company sender, name or email. You're coming from generic emails and domains. And I see this over and over, guys. I analyze funnels once a week and I do a video on them. I've seen companies create like a shell domain. I sign up to something and now I'm getting emails from a completely different domain. Not quite a good strategy. Okay, be consistent with your branding, with your messaging. Who is the company? What is the offer? Who is the sender? Is it a person or not a person? And then your emails are not personalized or irrelevant. If you keep on sending me emails over and over with the same content, if I wanted to take action, I would have taken action already. So bad idea. Emails are too salesy or promotional. I also see this a lot. Companies overpromise. If you sign up to this program, you're going to end up getting, making $10,000 recurrent revenue a month. You don't have to lift a finger. Look at this guy. He actually grew his revenue from here to here. Honestly, these types of emails are not, I'm not going to discount them. They could work, but stay away from this. Be true to your audience. If you can boost their revenue and you have a proven method, that's fine. Just don't be stuffing your emails with promises you cannot deliver on, right? Make sure your company's information is at the bottom, guys. Very important for spam compliance purposes, for transparency purposes. If you don't, you can be liable for a lot of money in some countries. And you have to include your name, your address, preferably a phone number, but a phone number I don't think is necessary or a must for now. You have to include unsubscribe. So no unsubscribe is an issue. Some people try to leave it out to get around those spam filters, but no unsubscribes is not going to work. So but in VBOT, we force an unsubscribe button, or you have to put your own preferences, which takes people to a place where they can actually configure what emails to receive from you. Okay. So again, here, I'm just going to repeat what I covered. Send email with relevant and valuable content. You can do A/B testing. So when it comes to A/B testing, if you don't know what it is, I highly encourage you look it up. We have it in VBout where you can split test your content, be it the subject line or be it the body of the email. We have an inbox preview so we can see how the format of the email looks like on different devices, and personalized emails with strong short codes and emojis and stuff like that. Make it look nice, make it look exciting. All right. And I think we are, and I think I included the physical location of the company with unsubscribe. Here we go. All right, so I'm really passionate about this topic, guys, because I'm going ahead with my slides. Hopefully I'm not losing you. If you have any questions, I have,
Yes,
yeah.
we have. What do you mean by short codes? People's
names, merge tags, short codes, variables. So someone's name appearing in the subject line. That's all it is. So short codes are relevant information about the person, would be it first name, last name, company, date of birth. Okay. Cool.
Okay, instead of, sorry.
No,
sorry,
it's okay.
Rich. Instead of unsubscribe, can you use reply to this email to be taken off our email list?
I hate this method. I'm sorry, I'm very biased. You're giving people more work to, I don't, it is an unsubscribe, right? It's an unsubscribe option, but there's a fine line there. Okay, I can argue that you're not giving me an easy way to opt out. Maybe the email was slipped through the crack. So I email you back, you don't take me off. And this happens to me all the time. I get those people trying to sell me on databases of my competitors. And I'm like, I don't want this. They just don't remove me. So it's not a good method. You want to be able to do a self-cleaning. So if somebody clicks, the system takes them out for you. Why do you want to have to find that email and click on it and unsubscribe it? It's not accurate. So Brian is asking, if I live in 2 countries, USA and another, will it make a difference to use my email contact address from the other country to send emails to the US, or should I use US as my address of sending emails to the US? That's a good question. You can put 2 addresses on the bottom, make it easy for you so you don't have to send out 2 emails. Unless there are some specifics within the email that needs to be isolated to that particular geography. I don't see a harm in putting your locations on the bottom. I've seen it often. And yeah. Cool. Last reason. I think it's the last reason, right, George? Not having proper warm-up plan. Very important,
yeah,
guys.
Last one.
I want you to understand what warm-up is. Most people don't even think about it. They come to a new email platform and they send the blast. Everybody gets it, supposedly gets it. The problem with this is that when you're moving from, there are 2 ways. You're moving from system A to system B, completely different sending protocols, IPs. Sometimes signatures are different. The email rendering technology is different. Gmail and friends, they want to learn a little bit about your rep and they're constantly updating reputation. So if you go from A to B and things are completely different, you should probably do it slowly. So warm-up plan is really being able to gradually increase your sending when you move on to a new system. If you're starting from scratch and you've built a solid database of, let's say, 20,000 people over time, but you've never emailed them, so you're starting from 0, it's also important to start with a warm-up plan. So I'm going to go through the reasons. I'm giving answers. Sending an email to all contacts at once without warming up an IP is a bad practice. So don't do it. If you're starting anew, swapping IPs too frequently is also a bad sign for ASPs. I've talked about this in the previous slides when spammers, they do burner IPs. They send millions of emails, drop it, get another one. So obviously, spam filters detect this and they do, I think they call it IP snowshoeing. So if they detect you sending out too many emails through too many IPs using same headers and certain things like this, it's a red flag. That's exactly what spammers use to send out emails. So what you can do, there are lots of IP warm-up plans. Now, the good thing in Vbout, if you are with us and you are using a dedicated pool, we will do this for you. We either give you a brand new IP or we create an automatic warm-up process. Okay. Warming up your IP is a must. If you're using your own technology, I don't think Amazon has it. So if you bought an IP from Amazon, and again, don't quote me on it, I might be wrong, but my last time I checked, they don't have automatic IP warm-up. SendGrid, SparkPost, they do have IP warm-up plans. And what that looks like, day number 1, you can cap your sending up to 1,000. Day number 2, you can send 5. Day number 3, 10. And you can gradually increase over 45 days time for your reputation to be built. So these are the signals that ESPs are looking for. And that's what's called IP warm-up, okay? Using chunk sending with smaller batches, we have a built-in tool in Vbout, which I love, is that I can tell Vbout, don't send 10,000 in the first 10 seconds of the campaign. Break it down hourly over 8 hours for 2 days to deliver my message to my audience. I'm just assuming you're not on a rush to get this in the inbox immediately. And what that does, it sends smaller chunks at a time. You're not really triggering a lot of filters. You can look at the results in real time and see if something is not right. The list is bad, high bounces, high complaints, stop the campaign at that time. Don't let it execute as a whole and then stop it. So chunk sending is really a powerful sending feature that we have built, and hopefully whatever you're using will support that as well. All right. So I'm gonna pause here before I have a little kind of small segment on the email, a future of email and spam, that type of stuff. Any questions?
No, mainly you mentioned, Richard, about the chunk sending, but regarding the warm-up, Kashda was asking, how does this automated warm-up work? Because she said she didn't see it in the dashboard.
Yeah, you don't worry about it with us, Kajda. I think we're just talking in general. We do warm up our IPs in the background. So when you are using Vbout, you can either use our shared pool. Most people do this, but if you're getting to 500,000, 1 million in sending, you need to consider a dedicated IP setup just for you. You don't want to impact others' reputation. And at that volume, you're going to be paying obviously a substantial amount of money. You should be investing in dedicated IP pool. And we do the warm-up for you. We will scan the IPs daily for you. We'll swap them if one of them gets a hit. So if you have that large volume sending, I think it's worth it. Or if you are very exclusive and you want to have your own pool, even if you have a very small list, we can also have this conversation. But in terms of how the warm-up is done, we will do this on our end. You do not need to worry about it. Now, if you're using custom SMTP, which is a new feature we released in Vbout, and you're bringing your own IP pools, use the chunk sending feature. We have something there that lets you increase your sending daily by 10%. Okay, so you can say, I'm going to send a list of 10,000 people. I'm going to send to 50 an hour and cap it at 1,000 and then increase that limit every day. Okay, it's a very easy user interface, actually. I don't know if I have a little bit of time to show you, but you can use that if you are coming with your own SMTP, that is, okay? If you're not, quite frankly, no need to worry about it. We got your back. Okay. If I can pull it up on the other screen, I'm going to bring it over and show it to you. Any other questions? Wow, it's 6:20. Time flies talking about spam. All right, I'm going to breeze through the rest, guys. The future of email. Obviously, GDPR worried a lot of people, but in fact, it made things a little bit better because people were forced to become more compliant. They rethought the way they do email. They send email, sunset policies, and that was baked into the GDPR. So short-term impact of GDPR, chaotic. Long-term impact of GDPR is actually healthy for an industry as a whole. Corey, that was funny, wasn't it? All right, so AI-powered content. A huge shift in investment from companies like us and our competitors to invest in AI-driven decision-making in email. What time to send, subject line analysis, content to be delivered, the best version of the email. So there are quite a few things in terms of AI and marketing you're going to see being offered to you. Now, hopefully, there won't be just an enterprise premium because these type of analysis cost money. And a lot of companies come to us to ask, why don't you provide unlimited sending? Because we're using our own SMTP. It's because we are proactively building things like this in AI and predictive modeling that costs us a lot. Okay. And it's important for here to have, you know, as a SaaS provider and a client, we spend enormous amount of time studying emails, scrubbing emails, logging, analytics, and now we have AI and so when it's an animal. So the big chunk of email spend is not only SMTP, is actually what happens after that. So AI is a big tool. I just had to put this out there because I had a lot of questions recently, and be on the lookout for these. Predictive sending is partially as well AI. We're going to add it in VBOUT, so that's a pre-release hint for you guys. That means you don't have to make a decision when the email should go out. Just tell us when do you want to be delivered by, and we will probably make that decision based on your existing list. More emphasis on CTR when it comes to email. After Apple released their most recent update, which automatically opens email on any iOS device, triggering false opens, people are starting to shift how they assess the email results. It's not only now click-throughs, or sorry, open rates, but it's click-throughs and conversions they're looking at. So if your email has, you know, 100,000 opens, but you have 200 clicks, probably a big chunk of it is a false open. To be proactive in VBOUT, we're actually building a bot detection engine that's going to be able to weed out those false opens, and you know, just so we can have more accurate information. So if you are sending email and you're unaware of this, please dig a little bit deeper, because the way you assess your email results has to change and adapt with those recent changes. And that's about it. I have some resources here, but I just want to see if someone has a question. I know I have Saravan here. Can VBOUT be used for doctors, medical industry to send out emails to patients, or there are compliance and regulations? Saravan, we're not HIPAA compliant for full transparency. That means no personal identifiable information about the patient. You cannot include medical records. You cannot include appointment necessarily reminders, and that's a fine line there, because we have some doctors using it, but they have internal system and you have an external system that's more around promotional. So I think maybe if you kept it to the basic, it should be fine, but nothing in terms of like medical records or anything like this. Okay. I highly encourage you check with the attorney you're working with if it's okay to send out emails for promotional reasons when it comes to doctor-patient relationship. Brian is asking, what is custom SMTP? What do I need to know about it and related to setting up my email service, best practices? So SMTP, we provide this, Brian. If you are using what we provide, don't worry. But some companies, they have their own SendGrid accounts. They've built a reputation with their IP setup. And instead of sending emails using the VBOUT email SMTP service, they want to use their own. Okay, there's a difference. It's almost like a server through which the email gets routed. So if you're not using it, don't worry. But if you are using it, we have a feature you can install, and then you can connect that SMTP resource to us. Okay. All right. So Monica's asking, how do email clients like hey that cover the tracking hides affect your reporting? Sorry, Monica, can you please repeat? How do email clients like hey that cover the tracking links affect reporting? Every single email client, most likely, they have a tracking option for URLs. We discussed this briefly. If that tracking mask is blacklisted, you're gonna get a hit. So it's good to sort of two things. You can run your scan on that tracking link. So in VBOT, we do vbt.email, I believe, and a couple others. See if it's blacklisted. And if it is, ask the company what they're doing about it, because naturally it happens. You can ask them to turn it off. You can white label it as your own with some products like us. All right, so Corey is asking, I heard about the reply to unsubscribe strategy from a cold email trainer. The idea was that people have to reply, which improve your response rate. Okay, so you have to have people reply. And I usually, what I do is I spam the email. So here you go. If you want to do it, you're gonna get more replies, but people are gonna click spam as well, because you did not provide an easy way for them to do it. That's just my opinion. If you're using VBOT, you don't have an option. I'm sorry. You have to include the unsubscribe, because if you don't, we force inject it in the footer by default. Thank you, Corey. All right, Monica, I will look at Hey Email, and sorry if I don't know exactly what Hey Email. So many things coming out nowadays. It's really hard to keep up. All right, guys, we're coming really over time here, so I want to be speedy on those resources, which are really helpful to you. A lot of good stuff. Thank you, George, for putting this together. We'll provide you with the links. Can spam compliance chart by country. You can look up your country of choice. I think we have a lot of them, and see what's compliance like. You have to include your subscribe. Can you cold email or not, etc. Email subject line checker, spam word checker. Email examples from popular brands so you can get some inspirations. How to avoid spam and maximize deliverability. Something similar to what we talked about today as well. So that might be a little bit redundant, but it's there. We talked in depth about Apple Mail privacy protection. I think that was an event. BIMI and its impact on deliverability. Articles, how you set it up. It takes about 3 minutes to set up, guys. Very easy. CCPA, GPR, MX Toolbox, and Hattrick. So we have all these resources for you here. You don't have to worry about finding them. We'll share this information with you after the event. So I think these are it. Bonus. All right, so George is including, for those who attended, a link to our lead generation and marketing automation masterclass. Look at this, George is very generous. A $3,000 course, guys, for our attendance. We do like to educate our community. So I want to thank you first for joining us on this event and investing an hour or plus of your time. It really means a lot to us. It means you're here to learn, to improve your email game. And trust me, we want you to succeed and have a better email strategy, better results. Email is still the #1 driver for conversions for most companies. Email is still the cheapest way to drive conversions to a company, but you have to do it right. And happy to have you on this talk today. So hopefully we're putting you on the right path. I really appreciate it. So George's going to share in the chat the link to Academy and the code, but please do not share the code because we're probably going to kill it. We've seen the codes being shared around a lot. These are private to our community, and it's a $3,000 course we collaborated with others for to build. So this is it, guys. I can take a couple of final questions here if anyone has. I won't be able to do intros, I'm sorry, but hopefully this was good content. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, everybody who participated, attended, left feedback. Join our community, guys, on Facebook. We have an event like this coming up next month. Amazing lineup. We're going to be working with SEMrush. We're going to be working with reputation management like Mention and others to really bring to you some topics around marketing, about the lead cycle, how to convert leads and how to use reputation or how to use SEO as part of your whole lead generation and nurture strategy. So stay tuned. We'll do this once a month, second Wednesday of every month, same time. Amazing content like this one. And other than this, thank you, everyone. And we'll see you on the upcoming event.